I'm digging that intro music, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Pretty solid, isn't it?
Paul, I gotta ask a real quick question before we get to
Yeah.
the stream. Hashtag Nation, thank you for joining us tonight for the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins postgame. Do you like sushi?
Nope.
Well, we're dining on it tonight, brother. I can tell you that right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Buffalo Bills with a convincing 35-0 victory over the Miami Dolphins, the division rival. Wait, what did they won? Hold on.
Convincing? I think there's a fair amount of skeptics.
Sorry, they won.
Okay. Oh, there's the hat.
There's the hat.
Yes.
If they're on the road, I need the red one. If they're at home, I got the blue one. I also got
for this.
A Star is Born, Paul.
Yeah, Star played great today, man.
He did.
Star played great today.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, thank you for joining us tonight for, like I said, the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins post game, where the Bills won. I'll say 35-0, going 1-0 in the division, 1-1 overall. Before we get to our stream, we want to thank our sponsor tonight, Sean Rogers Homes. In the description of the video, you will see Sean's brochure, the top 1% realtor. So if you're thinking of moving out to the Valley of the Sun, please contact Sean. Also, we got our hashtag merch link down there. You can find it in our Etsy store, as well as you can find all of our episodes on iTunes and Spotify. Like and subscribe. It pushes out our content to all the other Bills fans out there that are looking for Bill stuff on YouTube. Just a couple of goofy guys that like talking about the Bills, you know? So that's what I'm going to go. Paul, you're a wrestling fan. I know you're a wrestling fan.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, guys. For all of you that don't know, since Mario and I obviously run Hashtag Sports together, we also share a YouTube stream. So whenever Mario watches something, it impacts all the videos that I watch. So there's a lot of like 1987 Northeast, Smoky Mountain wrestling videos that show up in the feed every now and again. Yeah. I've become a wrestling fan. I've become a wrestling historian solely because I share a YouTube page with you. Yes.
It's hey, don't be dissing on Smoky Mountain and Stampede Wrestling, man. I was gonna say is I watched Vice, and the Vice is on Hulu, and they have a series called The Dark Side of the Ring. Okay.
Yep.
They recently posted the plane ride from hell when they came back from Europe. There was one, I don't know if anyone's seen it. However, if the Buffalo Bills would have lost today, I think they could have filmed the sequel to that on the way home to Buffalo. It would have been bad. I mean, okay, so at the onset though, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off, but I said convincing. 35-0.
Yeah.
I know both of us have reservations about this victory. I want to hear yours first, though. I definitely want to hear yours first.
First off, if Buffalo landed the plane at the airport after going 0-2, people would be pelting the plane with fruit, right? Fruit and vegetables. That's what it would be. It would not be. It would be a tough pill to swallow, right? So overall, today's game, today's victory, large scale. I mean, you can look at the score, and the score is convincing. The box score is not, right? Box score is a little scarier, but I love the aggressiveness and the turnovers. I mean, that's why you won this football game, right? You got turnovers early, you generated points early, and you just never look back. Tua goes down. Jacoby Brissett, who I like a lot,
yes,
but he's clearly a backup quarterback, right?
Yes.
He's clearly an NFL backup quarterback, and that's okay. But Buffalo feasted on a really terrible offensive line. And let's give the McDermott clap him up. AJ Epinesa today. Epinesa is showing why you're leaving Basham inactive, right?
Yes,
like
indeed. Even though he plays down inside a little bit more, right. I would say.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Benjamin Murphy on the super chat. Dark clouds on the horizon, frost in the air, cold front has returned. I like that. I like that very much.
Look at this poet we got in Benjamin Murphy. Thank you very much for your $10
haiku. I don't think that's a haiku. I was an English major. I should know what a haiku is. I'm talking to a math teacher. You don't know what a haiku is.
I'm just finding out now. I was today years old when I found out you were an English major. What the hell?
Yeah. If I say haiku to Mario, he's going to say Gesundheit.
You're not wrong. And yes, I know I look homeless, but you know what? Tradition I believe Greg Thompson over at Cover One has a tradition where he cooks a certain meat. He prepares a meat for the Buffalo Bills victory. So this is my tradition. I got to wear these stupid hats every time the Buffalo Bills win. And the one loss wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Charles Clay. Yes, you are correct.
Oh, talking to Geek Squad,
News.
Josh Allen 6-1 against Miami. He does own them.
That is being a fan. Your door's opening behind you, Paul.
My dog walked in. You want to say hi to my dog? Hey,
so, I mean, you're a Yankees fan. Was this the Mariano Rivera? I mean, the Yankees are my daddy. Is this Xavier Howard saying that the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen are his daddy?
Can I just say how joyful I was to watch Stephon Diggs just talk so much trash after climbing the ladder to catch that ball on the left sideline,
laying on his back,
completely laid out, planking, and just talking so much trash, and then hits the helmet bop on the way by. I was like, it made my soul so happy. But you know what, Mario? We talked about this away from hashtag. I told you, I was like, Buffalo could have 8 sacks tomorrow. Like when we talked yesterday, I was like, Buffalo could have 8 sacks tomorrow. Like it could happen. And on top of that, right? One hell of a game. But don't you feel like if there's ever like the rebound, isn't this like calling an old girlfriend? Like, isn't that kind of what this is? Like you got ham boned by Pittsburgh and you're feeling a little bad about yourself. They're like, oh, who's on the schedule? Oh, let's get on the plane to Miami. So, I got a great idea.
If I'm hearing you correctly, let me see if I get your whole thing. Okay. So what you're saying is Pittsburgh at 10 p.m. at the bar is a girl you struck out with. Miami's the 3 a.m. call when you're at home. Is that what you're talking about?
Twice a year.
Oh my God. You did not.
Yep.
Oh my God. That'll work. Ladies, hashtag we've gone off the rails. All right. So we're gonna get to all that. We're gonna get some fun statistics for you guys tonight. But truth be told, I mean, I had a few things. As you guys know, we do have a hashtag page. It's over above Paul's name up to the top left, htagsports.com. And you can find all of our links over here at htagsports, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. The thing about it for me, I wrote an article, four down territory, certain things for Buffalo Bills fans to look at during this game and stuff like that. And it was like, we saw a lot more of AJ Klein today, especially when Edmonds went out. He was cramping up on the sideline. So, and the Buffalo Bills were blitzing a little bit more. They're blitzing Milano and leaving AJ Klein in coverage. I would have taken the switch, but hey, it worked. It worked for today. I said that Buffalo Bills should jam the receivers. This was actually your point, Paul, that with the veteran receivers that they had, getting them off their routes early to try to disrupt Tua, who wasn't in there very long. It did disrupt him when he was in there. And Brissett didn't do any better with that, even though there was a lot of drops for Brissett. I mean, I felt for that guy today. Even though I don't like the Miami Dolphins, I like Brissett as a player, as you mentioned earlier. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's a solid backup in the NFL. But all things considered, for me, it did not feel like the Buffalo Bills won by 35 points today. There were a lot of things. If you look at the first half, Buffalo Bills were up by 14-0. They had 3 turnovers and 2 turnovers on downs. And I don't think any of those – they didn't generate points on any of those. I don't believe. No. I think those were just natural drives that they ended up scoring on those 2. And then I know the first one that you want to get to, the first point that you want to get to is the Allen touchdown to Diggs. I mean, Paul and I released an episode about a month ago. I'm just going to say this. Paul and I released we were worried about the play calling of Brian Daboll in-game, not so much the script, but just in-game adjustments and stuff like that. You said, okay, is a lot of the success that has been carried over or from last year for the Buffalo Bills, is it because of the play call and the play design, or is it because of Allen's athleticism? I don't think it's disputable on that play that it was Allen's athleticism, because if you look at the replay, everybody was covered. Literally everybody was covered. And before I get to you, Paul, Ryan comes in, $5. Thank you for the donation. He says, I seen fear in JA-17. What is he threatened about? And this may lead into your next point, which we talked about earlier in the week. So give me your take on that, Paul.
Yeah, so first off, there was a lot in Joe's stream. Joe does a great job calling play-by-play. If you guys aren't aware, the play-by-play is available on hashtag sports as the game's happening. So Joe,
Yeah.
formerly Believers Talk, now with hashtag sports, he live streams every game, does a phenomenal job. So thank you so much, Joe, for doing that. There were a lot of people saying that there's a huge narrative about Josh being bad in front of fans, which I think is kind of a convenient argument,
I don't
right?
even.
It's kind of convenient because he played
Nah.
really well last year and there weren't fans, and then you get to the playoffs and you know it's a convenient argument, right? I don't think there's much there. I will say that Josh threw everything off his back foot today, right? Like when I go back and watch the game, that's when I'm gonna go back and watch is even when he had 8 yards of space, he didn't step into much today, right? And
would you?
Well, yeah, maybe he fears for the livelihood of his receivers if he steps into something. But it's just one of those things, Mar, that you know that as a quarterback, you get into a rhythm, and you don't necessarily get into a rhythm when your base isn't consistent, right? When that throwing base is inconsistent. So I don't know. We'll take a look at it and see upon the replay. The Diggs touchdown. There's not many quarterbacks in the NFL who could do what he did.
Maybe 3 or 4, I would say.
Right. Yeah.
That was ridiculous. That was the read's not there. I got to do something. Diggs falls down in the end zone opposite of him. He threw that ball about 35 yards, just running to his right across his body. He is a freak. There's no denying that. But I mean, Paul, you talk about rhythm, and before we talk about that real quick, I want to get to Sonny Lamont. Hello from Alaska. Good win for our defense. Our offense is sputtering, but I love it. The running game is looking better. Go Bills. Thank you so much, Sonny, for your donation. I think you hit the nail on the head there. But when you talk about it, first of all, Allen not wanting to step into throws, after last week's performance, I wouldn't either. But you talk about a rhythm. They only ran 25 offensive plays in the first half.
Right.
I don't know many quarterbacks that could get in a rhythm running that few plays in the first half. And you're up 14-0. Yeah. Like it was, some of those things were gifted to you. If I hate to say this, and we're not here to be downers, guys. Believe me, if you follow hashtag long enough, we want to be objective about this team and not just go all super fan on you guys. 35-0. We're happy. We're very happy. The Buffalo Bills at an AFC and a division win today. They got the record to 1-1. The defense looks like it's in midseason form, but if you get 3 turnovers and 2 more of turnovers on downs, and you don't generate any points against Kansas City, against some of these other high-powered offenses, don't expect to be up 14-0 at the half. That is our concern at this moment. That's what it is. Ryan, I don't know what Ryan's talking about, but it's fine. He's talking about big butts. Okay, I guess that works.
Well, and Mike Trotter brings up something. He talks about that Trey White jump.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I get it, right? I get it. You just assume Brissett's going to get rid of the football.
Yeah.
I get it. It's in the grand scheme of things, no impact on the game, right? 0 impact on the game. So,
but it was funny to see on back-to-back plays, he goes airborne, and then the one play that Parker dropped in the end zone, he didn't jump at all.
Right.
I was like, Boy, what are you doing? I think you got this backwards.
Well, so I want to get to some of the kind of cool stats, and thank you to the Buffalo Bills PR department for a few of these. Let's get to some fun stats of the day. First off, today was the very Buffalo Bills first for Micah Hyde, his first sack as a member of the Buffalo Bills. Kind of interesting how it's taken that long, but you really don't see Hyde in blitz pressures and stuff like that. So I guess it was just kind of a matter of time there. Greg Rousseau tallies his first career NFL sack on the same field. He played college football, so that's kind of fun. 2 sacks for him on the day. Second career sack for Justin Zimmer. The Bills defense did not allow a first half point for the second consecutive game. That's
wow.
I know, right? Really, that's one of those points that when you hear it, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
True story. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg Rousseau tallied his second sack of the day. Now, as far as that is concerned, he's the first rookie with a multi-sack performance since Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver did the same. Oliver, I thought, played great. The entire interior played great today. Josh Allen, and the big one to me, Josh Allen passed Drew Bledsoe for the 5th most passing yards in team history. I know that one kind of hurts a little bit, Mario. I know it hurts a little bit, buddy. I know it hurts a little bit.
Before we get to anything, Matthias comes in. Can the D be the real difference this time around? Also, sorry, Mario.
That's what she said.
The D is always the difference, first of all. Sorry, but my hat is mandatory at this point. The hat, I gotta wear the hat.
Yep.
Paul likes to see. Here's the difference between the dynamic that Paul and I have. Okay, and you guys have seen this if you followed the show long enough. Paul wants to read a statistic of Allen passing Drew Bledsoe because he knows my affinity for Drew Bledsoe. Meanwhile, during the game, I tweet out Dane Jackson when he had that 3rd or 4th down stop, which was pretty amazing. Came in, played what? Your boy played well today, Paul. Your boy. They seem to go at Trey more. I mean, what's going on?
I know. And let's be honest, this, as far as a coverage game went, I know the stat line looks ugly. This is a really nasty secondary to play against, both for Buffalo and against Buffalo today. This game was fun to watch. I know the score says 35-0, but this game was really, really fun to watch. Got a question whether Epineza was credited with any sacks. AJ Epineza is, I don't even know. 0 sacks, 1 tackle, no sacks. Doesn't feel like that, right? Epineza was all like over the MVP place to me today. Like, I thought Epineza played incredible. He was everywhere.
Scott Blakely. I look like a gas station attendant. If you look at it this way, the Buffalo Bills defense in 2 games now against Pittsburgh and Miami have surrendered 16 points. That's number 1. Number 2, they've given up a total of 468 yards in 2 games, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Only giving up 216 today, 357 through the air, and 111 on the ground. I believe I looked at the stats just before. I think there were 6 quarterbacks that in 1 game surpassed 357 yards this year already. Buffalo Bills in 2 games have not allowed a passer to go over 200 yards.
Mm-hmm.
In the new NFL. Like, I know you're playing Ben. Mm-hmm. Ben threw the ball over the yard today, though. I mean, I think he threw the ball over. But then I know you're playing Jacoby Brissett, who's a backup in Miami. I understand that.
Right.
So, but, Big Ben had 188. Brissett had 169, as you can see scrolling along the bottom there. But it was just – it didn't seem like they were getting into a rhythm, and we always know that the defense always starts out faster than the offense does. But I think a lot of people assumed from last week and this week that the Bills' offense was just going to continue to steamroll, and that wasn't really the case. You played against 2 very, very tough defenses today, or these first 2 weeks, and week 3 against Washington isn't going to get any better. But the fact that Daniel Jones can hang 29 on that defense. You think they're not playing in Washington, are they? Please tell me they're not playing in Washington.
No,
they're not. Oh my God, that field has claimed so many souls.
Can somebody please, like, we need there needs to be FedEx Field is a black hole to NFL careers. If it's not Dan Snyder killing careers, it's the turf at that field. Washington is a really interesting, because if you look at the way that the first 3 games played out, you look at it on face value when the season came out, you're like, okay, Pittsburgh blitzes a lot. Yes. Miami has to blitz because they have such good secondary coverage. They can afford to blitz, so they're going to bring a lot of pressure. Washington does something similar to Miami. They don't have to blitz an awful lot because they've got Chase Young, they've got Montez Sweat, they've got some absolute hammers on that defensive line. And that game is going to be very similar to Pittsburgh, where they're going to have a lot of guys in coverage. And that's why I thought establishing the run today was of paramount importance. And I was so thrilled to see the Buffalo Bills run the football today. Yes, you saw another fumble by Singletary, another fumble by Moss, right?
Yeah.
So that is now, count them with me, right? That Singletary had 2. Yeah, it had 2 last week. Moss and Singletary had one each today, so that's 4 running back fumbles in the first 2 games. You cannot survive in the NFL doing that. You
No.
cannot put the football on the ground. You can't do it. You're lucky, that things didn't bounce one way versus another when you're putting the football on the ground that much. But the reality is your running backs are have fumbled twice each game. You got to stop that, right? McDermott even said that's the stuff you have to clean up. You can't win football games like that. He's 100% correct. And that Washington game is going to be a bit more akin to the Pittsburgh game than it was the Miami game. Washington does not have to bring pressure. They don't have to blitz, right? Let me rephrase. They don't have to blitz to generate pressure.
It's even more so when you think about who the head coach of Washington is. Ron Rivera.
Oh, that's right. I knew that.
I don't expect it to be a very high-scoring game at all.
No.
I mean, I like Heineke. He's a good story, and he's a gamer, but I don't think that game is going to be like you. I agree with you. It's going to be more akin to the Pittsburgh game. It's going to look a lot like the Pittsburgh game.
So I have to correct myself. Somebody here said that Singletary had 2 fumbles. Who did? Justin said Singletary had 2 fumbles today. I'm just going to check the box score on that. I only remember 1, but hey, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it could have happened. So I'm just going to check the box score on that. Just real quick.
Yeah, the offense isn't off to the best. I mean, we could talk about the offensive play calling today. I mean, if the Buffalo Bills weren't in such a, didn't put themselves in such an insurmountable lead. I mean, you look at the pass that he threw rolling to his left to Diggs, who was blanketed by Howard. That's a strictly athletic play. You talk about the touchdown pass he threw to Diggs. It's just they were just out muscling them at the point of attack, and Allen was just being he was just being an athlete. But that line is still troublesome for me, Paul. And it's either is it Dable, is it OG Bobby Johnson? Who is the one to blame, or is it just the players not being to the degree that we thought they were?
Okay. I think this is kind of a larger conversation, Mar, right?
Yeah.
Brown brings it up. Anybody knows Josh's delivery was a little off. I'm going to say that this is part of a larger issue at play, right? So we know that Josh is starting to take more control of the game calls, right? So when you start having offensive line issues, sometimes that's just because the protection isn't called right? If Josh is in more control of this offense, then Josh also needs to learn how to make those protection calls for himself. I don't really know if he's there yet. The line didn't look outmatched today like it did against Pittsburgh. The line looked outmatched against Pittsburgh. So I don't think the line was terrible, but I don't think it's any cause for concern just yet. The one thing that does concern me a little bit is that it's an incumbent line. It's not like you didn't add anything new here. You have a healthy Cody Ford, end of additions, right? Like that's it. That's all you did was you just put Cody Ford in. So I'm still willing to be a little patient here, but I agree it is a bit of cause for concern because it's a completely incumbent line. They should be firing on all cylinders already.
Should
be. Yeah, they should be.
But is this a part of the bigger problem? And I sent you an episode that we did a couple of years ago, Paul. I don't know if you've seen it.
I did. Yeah, I did.
It was just kind of scary to see some of those things. It's like, this is, and, to the point that you said, Paul, my phone's going off. To the point that you said before, this is the line you're going to have with the contracts that you're going to have at the cornerstones of your team. Mm-hmm. You're not really, I don't know if you're going to have big money guards and tackles on this team because of what you have to pay your quarterback.
Right.
And what you're paying Trey White and what you're going to have to pay Tremaine Edmonds and what you're paying Milano and all this other stuff. Ronald, what's up, buddy? How you doing? So that being said, this is the future. This is something maybe you guys got to get used to going on with this offensive line and what's going to happen. It's like, okay, we would like them to be better. We would like them to gel a little bit better. And on run plays, I believe it is better. I mean, you talk about Singletary, 11 for 72 last week. This week he was 13 for 81 with that. I mean, obviously you take away 46 with that one. He was 12 for 35.
Mhm.
I mean, after that, but this team, this offensive line is much like AJ Klein. It's better when it's just moving forward, not hanging back. I had to do that.
I
I
saw
had to
a
do that.
healthy dose of AJ Klein today. And mind you, right, Tremaine Edmonds was just out with cramping. Levi Wallace was out with cramping. Like, no major issues. But thank goodness that Tremaine got the rest of the day off, because how many games have we seen Buffalo up where Tremaine's still playing 100% of the snaps? Get Terrell Dodson in there.
Mhm.
Get Minkavich in there. You don't need him right now. I still saw Milano in there a little bit later than I probably was comfortable with. Defensive line I was totally fine with, or I thought that was okay. But I do want to point out one play call that bothered me. You're up. I think they were up. It was 21. Yeah. They were up. The drive that went to 35, that put him to 35.
Okay.
Josh took that naked bootleg on third down for the first down and inside the 30. What are you doing calling that? What are you doing putting Josh out there? Like, you're clearly in control of this football game. I know you want the first down. You're inside the 30. I get it's third down. But what are you doing running your quarterback on a naked bootleg in a game that you're clearly going to win? What is that call? Why are you putting Josh in that? I know he's a football player, right? There's a larger point there. That's foolishness, right? It's foolishness. And that's the kind of stuff that kind of bothered me about the game. Was at times I just felt like there were risks that didn't need to be taken for a game that was, not to say in hand, but kind of pretty much in hand, right?
Okay. All right. Okay.
Uh-oh.
You're not going to like this. You're not going to like this. Even Joe comes in. He probably said it on the stream too. I said the same thing during the stream. Why are you running Allen? So
okay. All right. I feel better about that.
Okay.
Now.
All right. So now Joe's going to be mad at me too when I say what I'm about to say. Dable, as we know, runs a derivative of the EP system.
Oh,
correct?
Yeah, like Tom Brady would run a naked bootleg on third down. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I interrupted. I interrupted. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can I finish? You let me finish?
Tom Brady doesn't run after his kids. You think he's
Can I
running for a third
finish?
down?
Can I finish? He's got the best tight end in the league, though.
Yeah.
Talking about his wife.
Stop it.
So anyway, here's the point I was trying to make. Now, could we, if for a moment, be pro Dable in this respect and think of it this way? Derivative of an EP system. Do you know how many times New England would be up by an insurmountable lead at the end of games and start running plays that they were never going to run again?
Yeah.
Just so the other teams have to game plan against that.
Yeah.
I understand it's third down. I understand that's your quarterback, that's your franchise, that's your $260 million man. I understand that. He may have said in the headset, listen, if it's not there, just slide. Because he's been really good with that this year. Allen's not doing any hero stuff majority of the time. He's not doing that. So could it, if it stepped back and tried to be for Dable in this respect, could it have been that he was calling plays near the end of that game that he knew he probably wouldn't run just so other teams would game plan against it? Or are you of the mindset that, no, it's Dable? He was just, I don't know. Can I finish? Dana Carvey. That's so great.
Yeah, so we got a couple super chats. First off, I know the YouTube stream is a little weird, which is strange because Mario and I, the system that we're running, everything looks fine. So YouTube does look a little strange right now.
Are you lagging? You sound fine to me.
Well, that's what I mean. The video on YouTube's lagging, but like everything looks fine to me. I don't know. And I do want to call out a little while ago, I did put it up on screen, but just one more plug for Joe from Scott Blakely. He did have a super chat. Seriously, you teamed up with Joe. Honestly, his play-by-play is professional and spot on. I encourage all to check it out. I do want to point out that the angry Buffalo, who's not here right now, did call Joe the steal of the draft. By joining hashtag. That was the last comment on the stream. It was he called him the steal of the draft. So there is that. It's
just a video lag.
Interesting question. Why haven't we seen McKenzie in the run game? That's an interesting question, right? Why
That
haven't
is
we seen
interesting.
McKenzie in the run game? And there was somebody else that brought up, why would you run Allen in that situation? Shouldn't we just sacrifice Breida? Let me find it here. Of course it was John Marlowe. Yeah, listen. All right. I have an unhealthy love of Matt Breida. I will not in any way deny that. Again, when you were up this much, I kind of expected to see Breida, and we didn't. And that was a little weird for me. That was a little weird for me.
Do you think they just wanted to get Moss some more work?
You know what they talked about? McDermott said he needed a reset at the in his presser, right? I think that's an interesting term because that we talk about all the time. Like when Moss fumbled the ball, we're like, well, his day's done, right? No, it's he needed a reset, right? They sat him down. They said, listen, you'll get an opportunity. Just you got to hit your opportunity. When you get it back, you got to make it worth it. And he did. And he did. He played like a man on fire once he got back in there. It was awesome.
That's good. That's going on a t-shirt because you say that way too much.
Well, he played like a man on fire.
Man on fire. You like the man on
was.
fire quote.
He was.
I mean, he was the touchdown vulture. He was the Mike Tolbert of today.
Oh, Mike Tolbert.
He definitely was the Mike Tolbert.
I was going to go with the Booby Dixon of today.
The Booby Dixon. I don't know if he plays too much special teams. Bill's defense off the hook. Yes, Paulie D. Paul.
Yeah.
Was today eerily reminiscent of a Carolina team of Newton, Williams, and Jonathan Stewart, where you had Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams in the backfield, and you had a big athletic quarterback throwing for 50%.
Ooh.
I mean, McDermott's been there for that. Two-headed monster at running back, and just don't make any mistakes offensively with your quarterback and run him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's no connection. I'm just trolling right now. I swear to God. That's all I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
But was it 50? It was 17 for 33, so it was just over 50%.
Yep. For 179, right? Not great. Not a great day.
No. It was
But how
pedestrian.
Mario, let's go back to 2019 and say, would we have been happy with that? Right. Let's not forget in 2020, Josh still hadn't thrown for 300 yards yet.
It's not 2019, Paul.
Well, I get it. I'm just saying this. We are
300. Stop.
We
Stop with the 300 yards.
We are going to complain about it a little bit, right? It was good enough to win, right?
It was.
Were there still some causes for concern? Yeah. There definitely was, right? There definitely was. But let me ask you this, Mark. In an EP system, right? Is it more difficult to go against man coverage or zone coverage in an EP system? And the reason I ask that is because Dable lets his receivers create routes on the fly, right? It really does allow them to do a lot of different things. Their route tree is very loose, right? They run it fast and loose. Is it harder to play in a man system or play against a man team than a zone team?
What is the number one way to defeat the EP system, Paul? You've heard this many times from both myself and my brother.
I'm not going to answer this question.
What are you playing? Okay. You play man under too deep.
That's right. You play man under
too deep on that, and you let your front four hunt.
Right.
If you want to talk about some of the teams that have had success against the EP system, you can look no further than the 2007 Giants, who had a front four that could generate pressure. They were man under. They bracketed the slot guys, and they played man outside, and then you had two deep. That's what defeats an EP system generally. I'll say generally. If the EP is able to run, then you're in trouble.
Right.
But if the EP is one dimensional and passing all the time, you could play man under too deep and defeat it. Depend who's manning the controls though. I mean, because a lot of players have tried to run the EP. Joe Flacco ran the EP system at one point. So I mean, it's yeah.
All right then. I do want to point out, Vita Vega brings up a great point. The field conditions weren't optimal right around third quarter. It was third quarter. It started to rain pretty good. right around the third quarter. Um, Miami's a weird place to play, man. It's just a funky place to play.
I mean, we could do the splits after the game and put them in the chat in the comment section for you guys to see what the passing was on different downs. But still better than Washington. Still better than Washington.
Ain't that a fact? Ain't that a fact?
Literally, the Bills just squished the fish in their own aquarium. I love that. That was pretty awesome.
Well, Buffalo, in the first half, I think Buffalo had 7 first downs, right? But once the first half was over, if my memory serves me correctly, right?
Okay.
Interestingly enough, they had 21 first downs to finish the game. 10 of them were rushing.
Ooh.
Right.
Piece of candy.
Isn't that it? Like 3 of them were from first downs, 8 of them were passing, 10 of them were rushing. Miami, contrary, 9 passing first downs, 2 rushing first downs, which I think kind of speaks to down and distance a little bit.
Yes.
Right. So probably more of a product of Buffalo taking what was there versus forcing things like we saw against Pittsburgh. Right. Buffalo really forced a lot. And if you have, almost half your first downs coming as rushing first downs, that it's probably a product of moving the ball down the field pretty consistently. You're in shorter down and distance, which is great, which is, that's absolutely what you want to see. That's you'll love to see it. You'll love to see it.
I mean, you could just say that by looking at the statistics. Just raw statistics that are going. I mean, you had Allen completed 17 passes for 179. That's 10, but it's per attempt. So it was basically a 5.5 yards per attempt. So like you said, it wasn't like the Buffalo Bills. You talk about their rushing first downs. They were given very, very short first downs to get 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, stuff like that. And when they didn't, it wasn't very favorable. But then you look at the flip side of that. You talk about Jacoby Brissett throwing 40 passes for 169 yards.
Right.
That's like 4 yards an attempt. So in that respect, you start looking at it like, they had to go like they were 3rd and 7 a lot of times. So they were just trying to do that. And Buffalo was really good defensively at keeping everything in front of them. No big plays, no chunk yardage, nothing like that. Especially with Gaskins, who coming out, you were quite high on as far as a receiving back. Not really a rusher, but a receiving back. And Buffalo Bills, along with Milano, Edmonds, and Klein, I'm going to put Klein in there, did very, very well. I saw Klein probably miss 4 tackles today. Like, I think that was in the second quarter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm saying I saw him miss but he was
around the
really
football
in position all the time. And that's why he's there. I mean, we talked about it last year on one of our shows about Klein being the leader on the team and missed tackles. But then the flip side of that is he's in position to make a lot of those plays, and that's why he's on the field.
Sure.
So, and I knew he was going to play a lot more today, even given the fact that Tua went out. I think the offense looked better. And believe me, take this with a grain of salt, since they only threw for 169 yards and rushed for 10? Like, I don't even know. Point being is this: Brissett looked better in there than Tua would have. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I like Brissett better.
Yeah, I agree. So interestingly enough, I just was thinking about it. Did I miss the memo about Jerry Hughes today?
What about Jerry Hughes?
You
played well, I think.
I
saw him in there pushing the pocket.
I want to see his splits, right? I want to see a snap count. So we got to wait a couple days till we can see a snap count. But Jerry Hughes registered 2 tackles, 1 solo. His snap count's what I'm so curious about, right? We talked about if you get Jerry at 35 to 40% snap count, you're going to get an animal, right? Because last year he's playing, above 50%. You don't have that pressure for him to play every down now, although he's far more experienced. So I'm sure there's circumstantial stuff you want him out there for, the packages and things like that. Certain down and distance you want him out there for. But I cannot wait to see Jerry Hughes's splits. I cannot wait. What do you tackle?
This is interesting. This is why you pay me the big money, Paul. This is exactly why you pay me the big money.
I pay you the big money?
You pay me the big money all the time.
We'll go with that.
Jerry Hughes, stop it. Jerry Hughes had one game last year. That game was week 15. It doesn't tell me who they played. Jerry Hughes last year's splits: 68, 65, 62, 61, 62, 59. He had one game of 59 and one game of 55. It ranged from 62 to 77. Was his snap count.
Isn't that
was
crazy?
His percentage of snaps. In week 1, he had 57%.
Yeah. And we know
I
that
would
McDermott leans on veterans over rookies anyway.
I would venture to say that Rousseau was at 52 week 1. So,
right.
I mean, I would venture to say that it was probably around the 50s again. I mean,
it's
and
possible.
what was your point of that too? Because if people didn't know what that was, what were you alluding to when we did that one episode with Hughes? Because you named him your breakout star on defense this year.
Yeah. Sure did. Revisionist history would like to redo that one. Rousseau has been pretty incredible.
Yes.
Groot, 5 tackles, 3 solo, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks today. Rousseau was he was crazy today, right? And Elliot asks, when will you see Basham? Basham's a little bit more of a traditional defensive end, right? I think you see Basham if Addison starts to flame out a little bit, right? Yep. I think that's probably
why he's there. That's why you got him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is more than likely, we're saying Hughes and Addison's last year on the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
you don't want to say that, but
well, I think so. The point regarding Hughes, right, is the less snaps that you give him, the more impactful he can be. You can put him in pressure situations, which is really where you want Jerry. You don't want Jerry out there on rundowns, right? You want him in there on pressure situations. Plus, he's coming up on the end of his contract. There's a lot of things at play that less snaps make Jerry more impressive, right? Because he'll still produce at a high level for you. You want to find those situations where he can be successful. You probably don't need him, on a 2nd and 3. It's probably not the Jerry Hughes snap you wanna donate, right? You want
a guy that'll just collapse the line inside.
Yeah,
and that's your
exactly
Basham.
Right.
That's your Basham or Epineza or one of those guys. But if you think about it, the Buffalo Bills did with their defensive end position, much like what they did with the running back and their wide receiver positions, is that they're cycling that position and getting younger now. So that if, like you said, if Addison flames out, if it's their last year on the Buffalo Bills, when you get 2 guys, one always happens to rise up to the occasion a little bit faster. So you got Rousseau and Basham. Rousseau is on that Gabe Davis plan, and Basham's on the Isaiah Hodges plan.
It's funny because Mike Apex, who hosts our Tailgate Talk show on Friday nights with Tommy, great show. If you guys have not caught it yet, you definitely want to catch their podcast here on the Hashtag Sports Network. First off, Ali Akbar giving us a little Bill Shout song. I appreciate that. But Mike says Basham is on the 2020 AJ plan, referring to AJ Epineza, not AJ McCarron. So he's on the 2020 AJ plan, which was you just allow him to mature. And I think we forget that AJ Epineza was a 2nd-round pick. Basham was a 2nd-round pick. The Bills, when they draft you in the 1st round, they expect you to start. That's the conversation. If you're a 1st-round pick, you will be starting. If you are a 2nd-round pick, you're going to have to wait. If you start, it's because either somebody went down or you've straight exploded during training camp and you've earned the starts. But often this isn't uncommon for them to take a step back from those 2nd-round guys. It's not uncommon for them at all. It's pretty normal.
If you are, though, and I made the point a long time ago, if you're drafted in the 2nd round or later, it's not like Paul says, 1st-round pick, you're expected to start. 2nd-round pick and later, it's like the scene in Batman where the Joker breaks the cue stick in half and throws it in the middle of those guys and says, make it quick. You're gonna fight for that position.
Yeah.
And the Bills will give you a fair shake to fight for that position.
Sure.
And that's why you see some of these dog fights coming out of camp in the fact that, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring you in as a 2nd or 3rd round pick. You're gonna compete for this spot. If you happen to lose the spot, we're gonna give you the tools needed to get that spot. Or, eventually we're planning for a couple of years down the road. Who knows what happens? I mean, you could say that about Ed Oliver. You could say that about with the whole Kyle Williams. Even though he was brought in after, they were cycling that position. They're cycling defensive ends. They're cycling receivers because you when you brought in Brown and Beasley, you only signed those guys for 2-3 year deals. So then you end up drafting receivers that could play in any offense because they happen to catch the balls with their hands.
Shocker.
I hate to spit on the good name of Zay Jones, who has the who in the Buffalo Bills history has caught the most passes with his stomach of any Bills player I've ever seen in my life.
He's the only player I've ever seen to wear out the numbers on the front of his jersey.
His jersey looks like the scarecrow in Necessary Roughness that Paul Blake throws at.
It's all torn out.
Yeah, that's what the 88's all torn up.
So I know you're getting to a point here, Mar, but I think it's probably, I think we should probably look a little forward, because we got to look at Washington, right? Washington did squeak out today. They beat the Giants by 1 point. Taylor Heineke is now, by Thursday. Taylor Heineke is now their quarterback, threw for 336, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, only 1 sack. And I don't know if that's necessarily the story that you need to be concerned about going into that Bills game, because their offense is primarily Terry McLaurin and then everybody else, right? Like
Yes.
Terry McLaurin had 14 targets and 11 receptions. Like, their offense is Terry McLaurin. Logan Thomas is there. Everybody's familiar with him. He had 7 targets, 5 receptions for 45 yards. Adam Humphries, who was down in Tennessee and then I think in Tampa, and now with Washington, a fun slot receiver type player, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 44 yards. But the defense is the story, right? With Washington, their defense is the story.
But if you want to think about it in this respect, it's all one up front. Now, you talk about Eric Flowers, Brandon Sharif. Those guys terrify me because that's a much better line than Miami put out there today. So that's number one. Number two, McLaurin is scary. You have said on our preseason prediction show, Antonio Gibson is terrifying.
Yeah,
and
sure is.
J.D. McKissick had 80 catches last year. Like, does that sound funny to you? Like, he had 80 receptions, the new NFL. But if you look at the defense, and here's the thing we may bang the drum with all week. Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat. Good God.
Right.
Number one. But those 4 guys, I think, cover up the back 4 because John Bostic plays like an animal all over the place. So it's not like you could try to get a one-on-one with Moss and Singletary on him. That's going to be terrifying. The thing is, Kendall Fuller, William Jackson, Landon Collins, and who's the safety? Cameron Curl. I'm not high on those. Landon Collins is on his 3rd team. I'm not high on Landon Collins. I think he could be manipulated by Allen.
Yeah.
With the right play call. I'm not high on Jackson. I'm not high on Fuller as corners to man up with Diggs and Davis.
I agree.
So that being said, we saw how if you get a front 4 push, Joe Hayden was able to cover receivers. If they're able to get that push, the game's over. I'll turn the damn thing off. No, I won't turn it off because I got to watch it to do this. But I'm just saying that
I was going to say you better not.
That front 4 is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And given what the line play has shown me in these first 2 games, if they can get it together for that Washington, I was always scared of Washington. If they can get it together for that Washington game and they're able to hold up against that front 4, it will tell me that OG Bobby Johnson corrected their mistakes. They found a plan to rectify that type of situation. And I think that they could take on any front 4 in the NFL if they're able to handle those 4 animals.
Okay. I look at Washington this way. If you can handle the pass rush, you can exploit their linebacker and secondary group, right?
Yes.
You can really exploit them. And that's why I said getting the running game going today was really important. You're going to need that space. Right. You want to get those linebackers up. Right. And you need to be able to establish the run in order to do that. I do want to ask a question, though. Let's imagine for a moment, because I think B Lightning had asked this just a few moments ago. Let me just double check. No, sorry. It was Buffalo Mafia News. Let's say Rousseau puts up another stat line next week like he did today. Is he leader for Defensive Rookie of the Year going into October? Is he your leading candidate around the league as defensive player or defensive rookie of the year? It's impressive numbers, man. It's impressive numbers.
I'd have to see if he continues on the path that he's on. It's almost meteoric.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think he definitely has to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But with the small market team, I mean, all of us will say yes if he keeps being in the small market that they are. Even though the Buffalo Bills have made noise last year and they're coming into this year, you still have to far and away go overboard with
Mhm.
that. I mean, do I think Josh Allen should have been the MVP last year? 100%. He wasn't because it was new to everybody. Like, I don't. If he has 17 sacks this year as a rookie, I think you got to give it to him. Unless there's a rookie corner out there that has like 12 picks.
Well, I think the difference is that if you're more likely to win those awards if you're on a winning football team, right?
True
Like
story.
if Buffalo wins, today was just one of 16 wins for the Buffalo Bills this season. And
there's no Alex Rodriguez's in the NFL right now, where they're on the last place team and they win the MVP.
Right.
You know?
Right. But that's my point, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing this production on what looks to be a winning football team. So it is actually, small market or not, the reality is you put up, 15 sacks as a rookie. That's a big number. It's won a game. That's a big number as a rookie.
And it's something that's very foreign to McDermott.
Mm-hmm.
He usually loves balance across his line, so that when you end up getting to the postseason, you can't really focus on one guy.
Absolutely true.
That's what he loves about his. That's what he loves about his defense. So, like, if you had a guy that got like 17, 18 sacks out there on the edge, they could game plan for him. And then what are your other three going to do?
Right.
Good thing for Buffalo is that the other three that they have are Oliver, Hughes, and whatever you want in there. You could even put Klein in there, a defensive tackle, just to mess around with somebody. You know what I mean? I would have did that today if I was Frazier.
Yeah.
I would have messed around with some of the defensive game plans.
Yeah. It was nice to see some players get some playing time, in that fourth quarter. I champion any time you can get guys like Milano and Edmonds rest. I know Edmonds went out for cramping, but the reality is you didn't need him. Get those guys off the field. They don't need to be there. That's totally fine. What
Brownell. Washington is the Buffalo team with Darius, Williams, and Williams. They don't have the offense to support them.
Yeah.
You're forgetting Hughes in that. Hughes was the fourth guy in that rotation.
He was. And that's when Hughes had his best season at defensive end.
And when he was third on the team in sacks with 10. Sure, like, what?
I know. But, I guess I see Dan Van Coenberg puts in Groot was a steal. It's kind of interesting to me that Rousseau has jumped in and played right away since he opted out last year. McDermott is so much about time on task, right?
Yes.
That's the drum that they bang is time on task. And Homeboy didn't play last year. It's fascinating to me how that works. But you look at how he's performing and you say he just has a different level of speed when that ball gets snapped. He's fast. He's fast.
You're gonna make fun of me of this, Paul, and that's fine. That's all right. I just want to say the quote. To do something that to achieve something that you've never had, you got to do something that you've never done. Is McDermott adopting this philosophy because for many years he wanted these
I'm looking to see if I have a cat hanging by like a rope with that saying on a poster behind me. I don't. I should order one.
No, the quote for that poster is "Hang in there." But my point is this: he's always had the hard hat, lunch pail defensive ends that have done everything, and he wanted the back seven to do everything because that's where he came from. He was a defensive back. He coached defensive backs. Then he came. That's what he wanted. Like, listen, collapse the pocket. Let my guys do the dirty work behind you.
Right.
Maybe he said, listen, I need somebody that's a freak athlete like Edmonds on the second level on the front line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Rousseau comes in.
Right.
I need a freak athlete at the quarterback position. I need to trade for a freak wide receiver. Mm-hmm. I need the best corner in the draft who would happen to be the fourth corner taken off the board, which was Tre'Davious White, and all this other stuff. So maybe he's going outside of the box, outside of himself, because he's seen in the first couple of years his old philosophy of defensive philosophy. Maybe he's taking his hands a little bit off the reins and giving it more to Frazier. And Frazier's like, because Rousseau's a Frazier pick. It's not a McDermott pick.
Huge.
It's a Frazier pick.
Yep.
So
Totally agree.
It's interesting to see that dynamic play out where he's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna trust you, and if he's trusting Frazier to take care of that business, it's working.
Right.
First 2 weeks, it's working.
Yeah.
Trade for Brian Winters.
God, get out of here with that, Browno. I'm only putting this on here to make a statement. Manny Lawson slander will not be tolerated around here. Okay. Manny Lawson. If you look at his combine, Manny Lawson is the greatest player to ever play football. Okay, so I don't want to hear any of that. Well, Manny Lawson slander will not be tolerated.
Never.
Yeah. Bill from Upstate. So there's ugliness in the wins, but fans aren't bothered in every which way they can be. And listen, this is so early in the season. I think a lot of us had expectations that Josh Allen was going to control this game with his arm, and the reality is that there was an agenda. They stuck to the script of what they felt was going to work. Clearly worked, but it's hard to lose games when you have that many turnovers. You really got to work hard to lose games, when you win the turnover battle the way that they did today.
Oh yeah, they did.
You really gotta work hard to. You gotta work hard.
You have to give the game away for that.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, even in an ugly win, there are still things to clean up, and being objective about that is something that Paul and I take great pride in over here. So, no. Manny Lawson was a bad man. I was sad when Sexy Rexy cut him. Sexy Rexy. All right, Brown.
Yeah, that's man. So, Mar, we gotta do a little bit of housekeeping. So we want to thank everybody for joining us. Sean Rogers at Mr. Rogers Homes is a sponsor for our post-game show and basically every show. And if you're ever looking to relocate or get investment property out in Arizona, he is the guy to hit up. You might want to make sure you do that. As well as we've teamed up with mybookie.ag, promo code HTS. They will double your first deposit if you're looking to do any sort of online betting. Hey, listen, the Bills are getting on a roll, man. And that Washington game, that's going to be a great one that if you like to play some bets, that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a good one to bet. I can't wait to see the line on what that game looks like, because that Washington game could be just haymakers all over the place because Heineke's going to be running for his life. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle.
Paul, we have a little bit of housekeeping that we forgot since the Bills didn't win last week. And maybe we're a little bit rusty and we're letting a few things seep in.
Oh, I forgot all about
I got it up on the board for us already, so people know that it's obviously if you've been here before, if you've been to our post, if you watched our post games from last year. By the way, before we get roasted, down in the description is our new merch store. So, let's help feed Paul so he can actually get up to 150 pounds this year. For one hashtag sports shirt, you could feed Paul.
You know how many packs of ramen noodles that'll buy?
I'm tired of using this guy as a javelin at every Olympics. How many ramen? No, but we forgot that our customary roast session at the end of the Buffalo Bills victories. We do have 2 minutes left. Paul, I got the clock, so you don't have to mess with your phone. I will put 2 minutes on the clock for our roast session here.
Yep. So basically, the comment section is yours. We are excited to hear all of your feedback.
Okay, so I started the clock. First one.
Hold on, Dear Pats Nation. Thanks for reminding the Dolphins what they actually are.
That is 100% for TD. I believe it. That is 100% for TD.
Yep.
All right, you got the next one.
You guys are turning into UNICEF.
Brownell, nice. Feed me more. Buffalo Mafia news. Wait, let me see.
9-7.
Why don't you put some of that punt money to buy a new hat at Dave & Adams? Yes. 9-7 is always on there. Bill's still on track for a 9-7 record. So far, so good. John Vernon, love it.
Oh,
love it.
Evan, I'll get Ramon Humber to sponsor the channel for you guys.
If you get us Ramon Humber and Jabron Hamden, I will be the happiest guy ever.
Yeah, Jabron Hamden is the other one, right? Jabron Hamden, Jared Zabransky, like those are just the names that we love. We just can't get enough of them. We can't
Where's
get
the
enough.
beef from Dwayne Farr? And then Buffalo Mafia News comes right in. Paul will be tracking down Dayball, picking up his kids from school to confront that QB run late in the game. No lies detected on that one.
Yeah, it's what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing? All
Wait,
right.
real quick. Dave Buffalo says late, but how about that defense? Nice. Love it. Love it. What do we got
Happy
here? We
but
got
worried about Allen. It doesn't look at A's on the field. Yeah, I mean, it's early, guys. You know, it's still early. And there's been a lot of comments. We've seen them in the chat. We put a bunch of them up on screen. New plays were being put in, which is the offensive coordinator's job. So I don't think we should be concerned that new plays are going into the playbook every week. That should not be a concern. Hey, here's one. Mario runs over kids at Black Friday to make sure that punt money goes to good use on some good deals. That's it.
You're not wrong. Hey, if you get in my way, I mean, I can only see so much.
Yeah, Mario run over you like he's running to the dessert tray at Old Country Buffet. You just want to watch
Ponderosa,
out
Paul.
for that.
Ponderosa.
Are they even a thing anymore?
I think there's one more in Niagara Falls. We're doing our next show from there, by the way.
God.
Make sure you guys go and check it out.
God, no way.
Get a plate of mashed potatoes, and that's a rookie move. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, for Sean Rogers Holmes,
Mr. Rogers Holmes,
Mr. Rogers Holmes, Mr. We got to address him. He's going to be Dr. Rogers soon. Anyway, for Paul and Mario, thank you for joining us for our post game. Please be sure to tune in later in the week for some more chaos and mayhem. And we are out of here.